Hi there, and welcome to the Experience Podcast. My name is Dennis, and I am a coach for people coming from the old world to the new earth that we're manifesting. Behind me, you can see what we're manifesting, heaven on earth. And make sure you like, subscribe, and leave a comment on this podcast. And with me today are very two beautiful souls.
I'll go first, and my name is Neal, and I'm a multi-dimensional, infinite spiritual being that's expressing through a human vessel. How people call me is Neal, and I'm a coach that assists conscious people in their 20s, like exit the matrix and literally experience life with their soul family. So if you're that, you can reach out to me via Snapchat. You can reach out to me via email. Both of those are in the description of this video. Additionally, every Monday, I'm hosting a masterclass called a Natural Balance Masterclass. And the Natural Balance Masterclass, there's also a link in the description. It's a 1 hour masterclass held live on Zoom, facilitated by Neal. And on this upcoming Monday, there's going to be another facilitator, potentially Dennis, potentially somebody else. And in this next upcoming Monday, which would be January 1st, we are beginning Natural Balance Masterclass with a half-hour music meditation. And then we're creating an entirely new way of being for ourselves to embody and express in the upcoming week. So if you're interested in that, you can directly reach out to me and or just literally click the Zoom link and just hop on the call. It's a free event. I invite you. Come prepared to have your expectations broken, receive transformation, and be in a space of love. And with that, welcome, Paul. I'm glad you're here. I'm humble and grateful to be in the presence of Paul, in the presence of Dennis. And welcome. I invite you to introduce yourself, and we'll just roll right into it.
Good day. Paul from the House of Graber here. And I like the way you said that, what you're called by, because that's literally what our names are. It's something to be called by. It's not necessarily who we are. So I'm here on the land of Indiana, close to where I was born and raised. I come from an agricultural animal nutrition background and have been live here with my beautiful woman, and we together have been married now for a little over 30 years, and we have 7 sons and 2 daughters, and all of them are amazing. And we have 1 granddaughter and 1 grandson as well so far. So, like I said, I came from a agricultural background, learned a lot of really amazing principles in that life, and have been in business for myself pretty much most of my life, and have evolved into doing what my passion really has been, and doing what I've come here to do. But it took me a while to figure it out, why I was even here in this life. So, or why I am here. And that is to not only put my own house in order, to and when I say getting our house in order, I'm talking about getting things in order so that we are actually living the way our Creator designed us to live here on this plane as kings. Okay, instead of asking for things from other people who act as if they had authority, we live as kings, and we are the authority. We really are, each one of us. So I help people with structuring their household, getting things in order so that they can not only protect their assets, but also live in peace, live a fruitful life, live as kings, and what I call the Revelation 18 journey, coming out of Babylon and living in the house of the one true God, our creator, because I firmly believe that, contrary to what we were taught, heaven starts right here, right now, if we choose to. So the spiritual, the administrative, the physical, the oral, the expressly written, everything that we see around us and everything that is within us is closely intertwined. And so it behooves us to make sure that we take care of getting the administrative part corrected. And that's where a lot of us have been led astray, is we think the administrative part is less than, and it is secondary in a sense, but it's still all connected. So I
So
help people in that area.
what is the biggest obstacle that you have in, or if there is such a thing as an obstacle, what is the, or is there anything that, let me rephrase this. How is that working in bringing people together in this new way of being and living? How is that manifesting?
Well, it's a challenge for a lot of
And
people.
what's the greatest challenge that you have?
The number one challenge, I think it was the number one challenge for me, and it is most definitely everywhere I go and everybody I work with. It's the topmost thing that stops people from being free, and that is to really grasp the concept of the kingdom of God is within us, and that we actually have free will. See, man has dominion over the earth, but he does not have dominion over other men. So we have free will, and our creator will always honor that. So for most people, that's a foreign concept, because we've been duped into believing that there's some other authority over us, between us and our master, what I want to call almighty creator or source power. So that's the biggest thing that I've seen in all the people I've worked with, is the number one stumbling block is that they can't really grasp that we can, you mean I could just I just do this? I don't have to ask permission? That's really a big one there.
And this is literally speaking to programming, because we have these programs that are programmed into us from our upbringing, from like who our parents were, from the environment we were in, from our teachers, from our preachers, from society, from like organized religion, from newspapers, from news. All these things are programs, and there's programs that get programmed into us to. There's a program to keep us from questioning the programs, and um, so with that being said, what you're talking about, that's an obstacle for the people, is the programming that they're being brought up in. And the only access point they have to actually see what you're looking at and what you're seeing is to, first of all, deprogram. And then second of all, that creates space. And then the second portion is to upload a new program, which generates a new perception, which can then create a new action.
Yes. Yes.
Are you open to a possible solution to the thing that is, are you open to a tool that may assist you in really bringing in and setting people free on a level that they never dreamt possible?
Well, I'm definitely I'm definitely open to look at it because and the reason I say that is because every day and every week and all year long, I have people sending stuff to me. I've got people showing me things, and most of them are well-intentioned. So
Yeah.
when you ask me that question, I'm very careful of how I answer. I'm just being
Yes.
real. And
Yeah.
because there's a reason a lot of people are confused
Yes.
because they're trying to find the
I'm
way,
just
and
going to
there's
say this.
so much coming at them. Go ahead.
Yes. I totally feel what you're saying, Paul. All I'm asking is look at the fruit behind me. And I know that for me, what you're speaking to, that used to be me. And it still is to some degree. But what I've noticed is that my freedom is in direct relationship with the conversations that I have with myself.
Yep.
And what I'm offering you is a leadership program that is the best. When I say best, I know for a fact this is the best leadership program on the planet. And I have one scholarship that usually this program costs $2,000. And I'm open to, I can talk with the guy that, the CEO of it. And I have one scholarship that I can give away. But it has made a massive, massive, massive difference in my life. And it continues to do so on a moment by moment by moment basis because I am starting to experience miracles on a moment by moment basis. And what I know is if those people that you're interacting with can see themselves as a child of God and their connection to God gets to the point where they see themselves as a king or a queen and they step into their full power, now you can do your thing and boom, you have a recipe that will literally be like a tsunami of freedom across wherever you are and across the world eventually. Actually, not eventually. There's no time is an illusion, so you're welcome.
Yeah. Um, I agree that, well, first of all, what I learned a number of years ago already is that the fear of man and peace very rarely, I don't think it ever, I'm going to say 100% of the time, this is true. The fear of man and peace cannot co-inhabit in the same heart. And so when you look at how people function, when I'm presented with a new idea, it's not always that I have a problem with the new way of thinking or the new thing that's in front of me, but rather if I embrace that, then in here in my mind, I'm saying to myself, I was wrong all the way back here, and I don't want to do that because it messes with my ego. So it's that I always tell people learning new things is relatively easy, but letting go of the old is where the challenge is because it's been ingrained. And you know, when somebody grows up being taught that if you do this, you'll go to heaven. If you veer off this side or this side from what we tell you, you're going to hell. And you've been taught that from baby up. And I'm not just talking about where we came from. I'm talking about church in general. That's very powerful programming. Whether it's right or wrong, it's powerful and it's very effective. So it tends to keep people enslaved. So now we get to an age where we see that there's something wrong and we like to move, but then what do my friends say? You got the peer pressure. So there's a lot of I agree with you. It's deprogramming, and some of us have been deprogrammed by slamming our head against the wall, and some of us do it different ways. But at the end of the day, it's still getting to a point where we can actually see, like Christ said, if your eye be single, your whole body be light. It's that third eye. Once we can see with that, then things start to change.
Yeah. So the number one dangerous information, and I'm going to speak to this, but I'm first going to speak to the second most dangerous information, and that's is what you think you know. The number one most dangerous information is what you think you know, but it just ain't so. And that's speaking to the programs that the people have such a hard time letting go of because they know that it's the truth, but the it's actually a my truth. So the ego creates my truth, and the ego says like, well, today I'll be a cat. And then the whole day the person's identified as a cat, and it's a my truth. It's not reality, it's a construction of the ego. And so the most dangerous information is a my truth. It's something that you think that you know, but it actually just isn't the truth in reality. And I don't have a recipe to deprogram. And I've had people ask me this, and I know what's worked for Neal, but I also know that we're all unique, and that what's worked for me isn't going to necessarily work for somebody else. So that's where I'm at. And with this proper alignment in the household, I want to speak to first of all, proper alignment in relationship to God. And God made all of creation for us, and then he made us for him. So this speaks to man having dominion over the earth. Like it's all for us. And I say for us, it's actually just all for you or all for me. Because the truth is we're all one. There's actually no separation. And the separation is a perception. And when we change that perception, we actually open ourselves up to experience oneness. And so we have dominion over all of creation. It was all created for us, the child of God, the king or the queen. And so now with proper alignment, there's in the household specifically, the head of the household is God, and then the man of the household is essentially submitted to God. So there's a surrender to God where the man is listening to the will of God. And the reason that he's listening to the will of God is because that's the truth. Like God is the truth. And if man listens to his ego, if he listens to what his brain's telling him, then he's not surrendered to the will of God, and he's creating an egoic kingdom of his own creation. And so when the man is surrendered to God, then that's proper alignment. And then next comes the wife of the man, and then the wife of the man surrenders not to the man, not to the ego. The wife of the man surrenders to the God coming through the man. Because if the wife of the man surrenders to the ego of the man, they are going on a shitty path. And that path is it's a rocky road. There's going to be lots of arguments and fights because the woman is literally interacting with an ego and a creation that, and she's wanting to experience God, thinking she can get it from this ego. So that's improper alignment, and in proper alignment, the woman submitted to the God coming through the man, and she'll test the man. She'll be like firing shots to see, hey, is this like your ego talking, or is this actually God coming through you? And then the children. So when all this is in place, the children are then submitted to the God coming through the wife now. And the only way that this even has a potential to occur is if God's coming through the man first.
Very true. Very true.
So this is the proper alignment I wanted to speak to.
Yes. As men, we are, I agree with you 100%, because the one thing I can tell you from my own observation over the years is the man that complains about his woman not submitting to him it's a pretty sure thing that he's not submitting to God's plan for him as he's supposed to walk and how he's supposed to conduct him in taking care of his estate, his family, his house. So when that flips and like you said, he submits to not some, I'm not talking about all the gobbledygook we grew up with. I'm talking about the plan of the Creator. When he submits to that, it's a natural thing for the woman to fall in line. I know that from my own experience. I know it from watching dozens and dozens and dozens of other marriages. And so there is such a thing as the man taking a stand. See, if he's submitting himself to the Creator, he becomes a protector of his house. That's a natural thing. So he becomes a strength and a foundation. Because like you said, the godlike energy that's coming through him provides that. He becomes that. So a man who is just a yes man, yes ma'am, yes this, yes, well, whatever, I don't care. That I don't know of any women that are there's nothing there for them to lean on.
Yes.
And as you pointed out, Neal, it's not the man necessarily that they're leaning on, but it's the God energy that's coming through him. So that's the connection point. And I happen to see that in a lot of cases, women would rather a man would stand for something, even if it's not necessarily the right thing, than one that flops around like a fish and has no backbone. I can show you a handful of marriages that have fallen apart because of that. Like there's no, they don't have any, like there's no security. They're looking for security is how it makes them feel secure when the man is walking in that divine order that comes through God. So that is, so where I excel in is providing education and assistance in structuring this whole thing that you just described on paper, because we've fallen by the wayside when it comes to, any business tends to have a need for record keeping, because I know that at least in this part of the country, if we're not keeping records for ourselves, then who is? Somebody's keeping record. Somebody's creating some kind of jacked up stuff. So, it's a good idea to keep things like we used to put the names of our children in the family Bible. We used to do a lot of things in-house that now we just kind of have fallen off the wagon. So that's where I excel in is helping people create that record. It's like, I don't really like attorneys, but there's an older gentleman that told me something years ago, attorney out of our hometown. He said, the reason we put things on paper is so that we can remember what we promised. It's like the story in the Bible where the guy he had a script that was signed and he took it and went back to get the silver. It was a promissory note. So it was, very simple, but that's what it's about is keeping things clean and keeping things in-house so that maybe we won't ever need it. But I'll tell you what's really sad is when we need those records and we don't have them. That's when we get run over like a, snowplow.
Right. So there's a couple things that I'd love to speak to that you touched on, and I'm gonna start with one of the last things you said, which is you have this agreement on paper, but you're like trusting that you'll probably never even need it. So I'm calling this like the proper way to have an agreement. It's when you trust before you put it on paper. And then there's another way, which is how a lot of people operate, which is they don't trust the person that they're interacting with. So they create an agreement to generate the trust. And this does not work. Trust cannot be generated by having something on paper. What does work is having the trust be there beforehand. Like, hey, you're actually somebody that's aligned. I see where you're going. Like you're speaking to me directly. You're knocking on the front door, stating your business, and I trust you. And because I trust you, let's put this on paper. And I will probably never need it, but just for the fun of it, let's do it. And here we grow. And so
Yeah.
that's one of the things I want to speak to. And then with this, I didn't know we were going to talk about relationships today, but I'm going to talk about relationships and specifically how most of humanity has been neutered. The men are women and the women are acting as men. And it's on purpose and it's by design and it's an agenda that's being presented to the mass population of humanity. And there's literally sex change happening before kids are 12. Um, like, and I say this because to say that most men and women don't know what it is to be a man or to be a woman. And when you don't know what it is to be a man or to be a woman, you so I'm gonna call a man. I'm gonna call a woman acting like a man a chick with a dick. So if a chick with a dick is she
You
doesn't
just
know how to be a promoter, which is going to promote that in men. And so so that's one thing. And then another thing is that a lot of people are not whole and complete. And so there's this journey that we all go through on our lifetimes. And the journey is from codependent as a little child to being an individual, and then going from being an individual to then being interdependent on other people. And interdependent is when there's two totally whole and complete people that come together to create something.
when the whole is greater than the sum of its parts.
You're speaking that as interdependence.
Yes. When whole people come together,
Yes,
and
yes, I
instead
see
of,
this.
instead of 2 + 2 = 4, it now it multiplies and it's 8 or 10 or beyond.
Yes. So now bringing this codependent individual and interdependent into intimate relationships, because most people aren't whole and complete, they haven't even reached individual yet. Most people never leave codependent. They stay codependent their whole life and they die that way. And then what this looks like in most relationships are codependent relationships. And there's this thing where two halves don't make a whole, two halves make a hell. And two wholes make a whole. And it's what you spoke to. They make a third greater whole. And I think that's it for now.
Yeah. I don't know if this is proper, but I'm going to run away from this computer really fast, and I'll be back because I got a bathroom that's calling me. I hope that's okay, but if I don't, I'm going to be like all over and looking cross-eyed. So give me about 3 minutes and I'll be back. Okay.
Okay. I was actually gonna say that it's not okay because I really wanted to see how he looks when he's looking cross-eyed.
I literally was gonna say the same thing, so it might be wise to bring this up. And where are you at, specifically with this codependent, independent, and then interdependent?
Like where I'm at in regards to from what context?
Well, just like from contemplation of it.
Like I don't have anything to add. Yeah. I'm curious what Paul like where he's at. That's my where the inquiry I'm in. Because he's literally taking people off of being codependent. And what I see is if he has something like the visionary leadership program to where he can plug people in and they can actually become congruent with being a child of God and being a king or a queen, now they can actually step into the program he's offering on paper and merge the two, and together that will be they'll be manifesting what we are manifesting in Costa Rica.
Correct. Yes.
Okay.
I very much see this.
Feel much better.
So like I'm gonna create some distinction of like a divine masculine, because you have masculine and feminine energies, but then within the masculine and feminine energies you have like convoluted masculine and then divine masculine. So divine masculine is like it's a man that creates channels for flow. So the feminine's the flow, the electricity. The divine masculine creates structure for that inspiration, for that flow to move through. So creating channels is one aspect. Another aspect is divine masculine draws lines. Uh, they stand where they are, and they put a line in the sand, and they say, I'm here, you're there, and if you step over this line, there's going to be a consequence. And so they're decisive. They draw lines and let people know where they're at. And another distinction is that a man masculine, so it's not man, it's actually masculine. The masculine energy is an energy of presence. When a man's there in his divinity, there is just presence. And the feminine is like super chaotic and emotional and crazy in the sense that they're not necessarily able to control their emotions. So where this presence comes in with the divine masculine is that through this presence, the feminine can ground themselves in that. So
Correct.
presence, that's an attribute of divine masculine. Another attribute is your word, your spoken word. Divine masculine have a integrous relationship with their spoken word, where every word that comes out of their mouth is being used for whatever that divine masculine's commitments are. And it's going to be different, but whatever their commitments are, they're using their words to fulfill their commitments. And that's all I wrote. So those are some aspects of divine masculine. I know there's more.
Wow.
Those are just some that are available.
Yeah. Drawing the line, and there's a difference between, and I went through that stage of being fighting to take a stand. But I got over that because taking a stand and just being who I am is extremely effective, because I've seen it work. I had 3 sheriffs come to our house with the intention to pick up one of our boys and take him to jail. I met them on the front porch on the landing, and I had a few words, very carefully chosen words, and I spoke 3 times, and then they left, and they never came back. So I appreciate what you're saying about drawing a line, being the power that comes through by just being who we are. People know that. They know long before you speak who you are. And I've also I have a couple podcasts on matrimony. The one I did on matrimony, that's an hour long. It's still my most listened to podcast. And then I also did one that's called Why Are You Not Listening? Because most people do not have any clue how to listen. As Stephen Covey says, seek first to understand, then to be understood. Most people are not listening. So I've had to do that, where what you're talking about, being that that source of stability. And I've done things. The reason Carol and I have the marriage that we do is because I have chosen to go places that most men don't go because they're afraid to. And what I'm talking about is way back in the very beginning of 2013, there were people that were very steadily and very swiftly trying to split our marriage. Okay. And I was in a position where there was no way that I could do anything physically. I couldn't be there. Okay. I was in this cage called prison, the physical one, the state prison. So when I called home, and I knew this was going on, and I said, Carol, you have a choice. And I didn't do this because I thought she was wavering. I did it ahead of time, so there would be no ambiguity about what's going on. I said, you have to make a choice. You have a choice to make, is what I said. You can have them or you can have me, but you can't have both. You have to decide. I didn't choose it to be this way, but that's how it is, because that's what they're attempting to do. They're trying to get this wedge in, and I made that very clear. And I'm not saying this to be boastful. I'm saying it because it's a real thing that a lot of men are afraid to step up. And whether the woman knows it or not, that's what she's looking for. She may not know it consciously, but that's what she's looking for.
Yes.
And I have to say that fortunately for both of us, she didn't just choose me, she chose God. She chose the Creator. And we just passed our 30-year mark of marriage. It's absolutely amazing. And if we wouldn't have done that, if we wouldn't have drawn together, we would just be another one of the 5,000 to 10,000 or more statistics that already exist. So in the recent years, a guy calls me and he says, and it's like crazy how many people call me and they want help because their marriage is in shambles, men and women. He says his woman left him. She's got the boys. She's got his debit card to his bank account. He gave her a van. She's in government funded housing, and he's given her $200 a week cash because she wants to be independent. I said, why are you doing this? Why are you doing that? Why are you giving all that? And his answer was, he said, well, I think if I'm nice enough to her, I'll be able to win her back.
Wow.
And I said, listen, I can't tell you what to do because that's not my choice to make. But here's what I can tell you. What you are doing now is not working. It didn't work yesterday, and neither will it work tomorrow.
Yes.
If that's all it took, she would have never left you. It's not working. So you might want to consider trying something different.
Yeah, this doesn't work. Ask me how I know. I've been the nice guy and it does not work. I'll just put that out there. It's because so to all the nice people watching this podcast, you want to know what nice people are? They're liars. They're lying about what they're actually experiencing. They're nice because it's covering up something else. If you're nice all the time, fuck that. Love isn't nice all the time. Love is confrontational. Like love confronts the shit
Oh
out of
yeah.
So
Love can look like making a special whip and thrashing some bankers, you know?
100%.
Turning over some fucking tables.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, they don't want to talk about that.
Yes. So this is, and the purpose of a family is not peace. The purpose of a family is love. And sometimes it takes what looks like the exact opposite thing of love to actually, it takes those difficult conversations to have a loving family.
Yeah.
And when you're a nice guy, you don't have these difficult conversations because you're just nice.
So it doesn't work. Carol and I still have difficult conversations. You know,
I don't think the difficult conversations end. I just think our ability to navigate them gets smoother and we're more like whereas before we were uncomfortable in the difficulty. I just think our comfortability with the difficulty starts to like increase as we continue to have these conversations.
correct. You're exactly right. Because there was a time when in wanting to be the protector that God designed me to be, I was more of a controller. And there's a little fine line between those two. And a lot of men are either dominating controller or they're a carpet. They can't find that line where they're supposed to stand without dominating or without controlling. And that's where I was at. I was a little bit far on this side of where I should have been. And when I was taken out of the house and I was away for a year and a half and then another year, a total of 2.5 years, whether this is here again, this would be hard for a lot of men to admit. But when I got out of the way, Carol could evolve and grow where I didn't permit her to in the past. And today, we're safe with each other, that we can say things to each other if we're not okay with what the other one is doing. We're safe to do that today. And it wasn't always so. And that's huge. That's really, really huge.
Yeah, I just felt this wave of gratitude for you to be having that experience of that. I'm gonna call it like an open heart communication channel. Like it's actual love. I acknowledge you for creating and experiencing this. It's amazing.
And you know, there's people, and you'll have this, and it's okay. There's people who back in 2012 already thought I'd lost my marbles.
Yeah.
And some of them still think I'm crazy. But in 2015, day before Thanksgiving, I came home for the last time from the state prison system. And then I had another year of parole. And then I was all done as far as that goes. But in the very early stages of 2016, I told Carol, this is not about me. It is, but not just me or just us. It's way, way bigger than that. And today, like I said, some of these situations I don't like to get involved in marriages, but I have been. I'm very careful about, and the ones that I get involved in, I don't necessarily, man, it's a deep hole. But the reason I say it's important for us to create records for most of us, the one reason we have to create some paperwork and records is because of all the signatures we've done in our lifetime and didn't even know what we've created stuff on the records that are harming us. So some of those can be cleaned up and kind of nullified, and some of them just we have to go back and stipulate that, well, because I'm the only one that signed it, I'm the one that can make changes to it, right? So we're going to create some corrections here because we're a little bit wiser than we were when we signed it. So that's one reason why we have to do those things. But yeah, it's marriage is. I was on a train in 2016 around July or August. I was heading for San Diego, California. Met up with this old couple on the lounge car. Just there's nowhere to go, so you just talk with people. It's kind of cool. And I found out he's a retired attorney. I said, I have a question for you. He's like, go ahead. I said, is it true that the courts have no jurisdiction over marriage? Now, I knew the answer, and I knew that he knows the answer, but I was kind of surprised how he responded. He responded that quickly. He didn't bat an eye. He didn't hesitate. He said, it's absolutely true that they have no jurisdiction whatsoever.
Wow. Wow.
So I guess he could be honest because he's retired. But he did speak truth in that, because the only reason that marriages are there is because people take them there, or anything else for that matter. So the matrimony is the most sacred and the highest institution, and as far as we know, the first one created by God. So that's why churches, counseling agencies, courts, and a whole plethora of institutions that try to fix marriage, they make a mess of it. They don't fix it. They make it worse. And here's why: because there's God, the creator, there's man and woman, and then there's the institutions that were created by man. And the creation is trying to fix the creator, and it always ends up being a disaster. They don't have the authority.
Yes. So I've got something with this. So it's all right. So where's the kingdom? It's within us. So if we look outside of ourselves for the kingdom, we're bypassing it because it's always been within us. And when we're trying, so also God created all of creation, and once it was done, he judged it. And he looked at it and he said, this is good. And so it was, and so it is. And so God already judged. So we don't need to judge what God already judged. But what happened is when Eve bit the fruit, she bit into the fruit and then started perceiving judgment, things as good and bad, duality. So once she bit the fruit, she entered the realm of judgment. Rather than allowing God to just judge everything as good and perfection, she now goes around and saying, hey, this isn't like, this is wrong. I need to fix this, which is a a state of hell within a person. So this thing with institutions trying to fix marriages, God already proclaimed it to be perfect. And either it's going to work out or it isn't, but either way, it's perfect. And if the institution says something's wrong here, that's already a misperception, because perfection is that's the truth. And when they say something's wrong here, they try to fix what they see is wrong. And see, the outcome isn't generated by the actions per se. The outcome's generated from the way of being that we're being when we take the action. So if you take an action from something's wrong here, you're gonna have a fruit of something being wrong here, because that's the energy you're coming from. Now, so that's what the institutions are doing. They're coming from this energy of something's wrong here, something needs to be fixed. So they're creating things that need to be fixed and things that are wrong. And now on the other side of that, if you come from the energy of perfection and that things are like working out for the highest and best for all, and specifically in accordance to God's will and plan, then what shows up is that the fruit is that you start seeing perfection, you start experiencing connection with other people, and synchronicities of things falling into place and being in alignment with God's plan. And I'm speaking of this to say that it's all from the being, from the energy that you're coming from. And you touched on this earlier about speaking about like just how you show up as your being has a result, and that this is what I'm speaking to. And I have two questions for you, Paul. And the first one is like, this is like time traveling. So my question is like, what was your upbringing like? And these are both personal questions. So also it's an invitation to share on these. So don't feel obligated to share an answer. And if you want to just keep going with something else, speak to that. So first of all, what was your upbringing? And then second of all, what was the thing you went to jail for? And like, how did you navigate that? And okay, so those are the two questions.
Okay.
I also want to point out that we have 8 more minutes, so just FYI.
Okay, thank you. So my upbringing in the old order Amish church, was that I really the culture and the way that we lived, it was a lot of hard work, and there was looking back, I know that the challenges that we faced and the rules that we had the most, youngsters don't rebel against their parents. They rebel against the religious agenda that's handed down by the church through the parents.
Exactly.
So nobody hates their parents, but they hate the rules because it's not the parent, they're, like you said, they're supposed to be channeling God, and they're channeling the Pope.
Yes.
Two different things. So,
yes.
So overall, I remember growing up and thinking I always want to be Amish. Like that was always my intent until I woke up. But the thing that I caution people, a lot of people leave that environment and they're angry about everything that looks or tastes like what they came from. I said, you need to quit labeling things with Amish or whatever label you're labeling with. Start making some discernment, whether it's good or bad, or whether it's serving you or what it is. It doesn't matter. Like there's no such thing as Amish. Like it's how, is it working or is it not working? Does it line up with, because there's some things they did that were righteous, good, things that served us. And other things are cult-like as all get out. And the dangerous part is in either side, they don't know why they're doing it. So that's another little problem. So why did I go to prison? Well, I'm the guy that some of my friends call me the crash test dummy. Okay. So I tend to do things. And because I live by a firm philosophy that those who do things tend to make mistakes, And those who don't do anything make just one mistake, and that is not doing anything. And I'm not promoting being reckless. I'm just saying that I make moves where other people are still thinking about it. And that's why I get stuff done. And that's why I know what I know today. And there's a lot of people that would like to be where I'm at, but they're not willing to walk through what I walked through. So I went and there was, I did a lot of research. I discovered that there's the path we're on, and even in the Amish church, we're being led down this path of slavery. So I started searching, and I knew that the banks and the banksters were ripping us off, and it was just a lot of stuff that I decided to do something. And I did a transaction that was supposed to discharge debt. Well, the problem was not the transaction itself. It is a legit transaction. The problem was I wasn't a licensed banker to use their vehicle. That's what got me in trouble. Now, they didn't tell me that, but I know that today. So, they're making a lot of noise about this thing, but it's like, this is really what went on. It's like in the church, they made a lot of noise about me getting a phone booth. They never punished me for that, but they punished me for this while they were making noise over here. So I ended up they charged me with bank fraud, and I ended up doing 2.5 years total. But I made a conscious choice when I went in that I'm going to use this, I'm going to learn. And I read a tremendous amount of books, read the Bible more than I ever have before or since, and lots of other books. I've read Napoleon Hill's book, Law of Success in 16 Lessons 9 times, and 5 of those times were back to back, and I took notes every time I went through. So it was an extremely educational time for me. The hard part was being away from my family, and more so than actually being there.
Wow, thank you for sharing.
Yes.
And it's what you're talking about bringing in all this information from this content from books and Napoleon Hill. And I'm like, I see that as a reprogramming. Like you're consciously uploading new content, which is gonna have, like, it's going into the subconscious. Yes, we're consciously choosing it, but where it does the magic is the subconscious. Because our reality is manifested from our subconscious programs and beliefs. So I just observed that in your share.
Yeah. And as we draw those things in and we start knocking loose the old programs, and as we become more open for the influx, we also draw things from the ether because of that we never saw on paper.
It's being present to the present of the present.
Yep.
And that present being, Lloyd, you spoke to earlier, listening to God, like really actually listening in ways that most people never even imagine what listening actually is.
One of the things that helped me a lot is when I was sentenced and got kicked out of the Amish church all the same year, I was run through 2 courts all at the same time, the Amish church court and the state court. They're exactly alike. I could take you to the church, and I could show you the judge, the bailiffs, and the prosecutor. And I could take you to the courtroom, and I could show you the bishop, the deacon, and the 2 ministers. It's exactly alike.
Wow.
So when that happened, I was pulled away from my familiar environment, and I didn't have the opportunity to go church shopping. And that was a huge blessing for me, because I observed this whole thing from a distance. And because a lot of people, they just jump out of one box back right into the other.
Yes.
So I had a 1.5 years and then another year where we processed this, and we never got to be a member of another corporate country club. Don't plan on it.
Yeah.
We have 2 more minutes, Paul. Do you have any final thoughts or things that you would love to share?
Yeah, there's a perfect formula that I read in Zig Ziglar's book, the very first motivational book I ever read, See You at the Top. And he said, God said to build a better world. And I said, how? This world is such a cold, dark place and so complicated now. I'm so young and useless, and there's nothing I can do. But God, in all his wisdom, said, just build a better you. That is the perfect formula for an imperfect world.
It is. I received this formula fully. Thank you for being here, Paul, and thank you for being here, Dennis. And like, your time is invaluable. There's no price tag somebody can put on your time. It really is the only thing that we have the capacity to manage in this dimension. And so with that being said, I love you, I honor you, I respect you. And I think this concludes this episode. Any final comments or questions from
I
Dennis?
just want to say thank you very much for having me on. It's been an honor and it's been great. It's a very short hour. I've enjoyed it and I appreciate you guys.
Appreciate you too.
Yes.
And you're welcome.
And with that, peace.
Peace.